Watching anime movies with my best otaku friend. Hello, and welcome to Watching Anime Movies with My Best Otaku Friend.
Or, as I like to call it, Wamboff.
I'm Abby.
I'm Alex.
And this week we watched Patema Inverted.
I almost forgot the name of the movie for a second there.
Yo,
I was like, what movie do we watch? I was going to say Blue Giant again. That's the one we watched last time.
Like, I forgot every other anime movie for a second for the bit. Damn. I'm Spirited Away.
And this week we watched My Neighbor Totoro. Unrelated to the podcast. We just decided to watch it. No,
Yeah.
That's a lie. That's an Alex lie.
You know, eventually we do want to get to, like, the Ghibli movies, but if we just did a podcast on the Ghibli movies, we'd have, like, 2 months of content, and then we'd be done, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Plus, they're probably over-covered.
I was going to say, I feel like probably everyone has seen them already.
Yeah, like, if you're listening to an anime podcast.
Yeah. Thankfully, there were, like, because, okay, before we were, like all in on, like, making the podcast, we were like, okay, well, let's, like, look up a bunch of anime movies, you know? Let's make a little list and see, like what all is out there. And then there were so many anime movies that I had no idea existed. And so I said, well, all right. I mean, not that I'm the be-all, end-all of, you know, knowing how many movies there are, but I was like, wow, I haven't heard of, like, 99% of these. So this is going to be fun.
I know, even the ones that are, like, I found them through my anime list because I wanted to hit ones that were popular, but not, like, a Ghibli movie.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised because I thought I hadn't seen any anime movies. Turns out I've seen a lot because I went to animation school and that's just what we did on the weekend. But there's so many out there, and there's a few that, like, I think there's, like, the number 4 anime movie on my anime list I have never even heard of. And I'm stoked to watch it. I totally forgot the name of it.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
But it looks like a romance, and I love romances.
Fun. It's fun. It's fun when the characters kiss.
Yeah,
That doesn't happen in this one, but, you know.
Oh, yeah. They, like, look at each other.
They look at each other with, like, preteen longing.
Yeah.
Because they're, well, no, I guess they are teenagers, but they're, like, 14. They're babies.
Yeah, when I was, like, looking up synopsises for this movie, like, a lot of parental guides came up, which I thought was really funny.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, the loyalty and friendship between Patema and Eiji is incredible and awe-inspiring. And I was like, they are romantically involved. How dare you?
Yeah. Well, I got some more to say about that when we get to the interview / fun fact section.
I'm excited.
Because let's just put it this way: there's at least one interview out there where the director of the movie says some wild stuff.
Oh yeah,
he says some wild stuff, and we'll get to it.
I'm so excited. Like, she mentioned it earlier, and I was like, fuck yeah. Like, any Japanese interview that goes off the rails, like, side note, I've been saying Patema Inverted.
Oh yeah.
For so long. Like, I watched this in high school for the first time. 8 years ago.
Oh my god, we're old.
I know.
I know we're not that old, but it feels old to say anything that's more than like a year ago.
I've been saying Patema Inverted, and John keeps correcting me, and he's like, it's Patema, you're gonna make the weebs angry.
Dear weebs, I'm so sorry if we make you angry. It is going to be a little silly and funny, though.
Last week, I missaid a name for an anime, and I was like, oh, no. And then on top of that, I kept saying shoujo when I meant slice of life. And I don't. Have you ever met a shoujo person?
No.
They're so on that shit. Like, if you say shoujo incorrectly, they're like, shoujo's not a genre, it's a demographic. And I'm like, oh, sorry.
You're like, I'm sorry.
Sorry. There was flowers and romance. I thought it was.
Yeah.
But
I think that there's probably a lot of genres that are, you know, targeted at a specific demographic, so I feel like the overlap in using those terms is probably fine, but okay.
Yeah. Shoujo does deserve a lot of respect, though, so I will.
Oh, Shoujo's great.
Yeah. But anyway, there's so many words like that. I have auditory processing disorder, and so sometimes I'm just like, a word is said this way, and people were like, no, it's said this way, and I'm like, that sounds the exact same. Like, library, like, literally took me until I was an adult to say correctly. I was just saying library, and people were like, what? But anyway, what do you think of the movie?
I thought it was good. Full disclosure, I did start to fall asleep a little bit. In my defense, that is not to say anything about the quality of this movie. It is everything to say about the fact that I come from a long line of people who fall asleep during the movie. If I go in the theater, I won't fall asleep. If I'm on my couch in my pajamas, I'm falling asleep.
I know.
That's one of the main places I take little naps and stuff.
We're going to make it a rule that you can only watch movies in your camp chair that you have.
Yeah, I probably couldn't fall asleep in that. It's comfortable, but it's not like sleep inducive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she has this little camp chair that fits into a backpack.
I love it.
It's really cool. I really want one, but they're like $120 for like no reason.
I spent probably too much money on that chair, but in my defense, it's really comfy and it fit in my backpack when I go out into the woods.
Yeah.
So,
you want to get into the movie?
Yeah. So, let's talk about the movie. Should we get cracking?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes.
Okay.
You count us down.
All right. 3, 2, 1. God, I'm going to say it every time. I don't know if there's a better sound. I don't know if there's a sound that immediately releases more dopamine than opening a can of something. Because every time you open a can of something, like a canned drink, you're in for a little tasty treat. You know?
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's not something boring. Most of the time, it's like, ooh, what am I having? You know?
All right. So we open on a city floating up and being destroyed. We don't know what. By what?
It's like very grainy, like found footage, Blair Witch.
Looks like Akira.
Yeah.
You've seen Akira, right?
Yeah.
So the city's being destroyed.
Yeah.
Floating into the air. I thought at first it kind of looked like a nuclear explosion type of thing.
But yeah, like we see like buildings being like ripped apart, like concrete, rubble, rebar exposed, you know?
Yeah.
And it's going up? That's not how gravity works.
In slow-mo, yeah. And then there's this like religious figure looking guy who's like talking about how the people started floating up and that's because they're sinners and the spawn of Satan in like crazy stuff, right?
Yeah, very much like God was displeased with these ones and so he yoinked them Final Destination style.
Yoinked.
Yeah.
You deserve to be yoinked, you sinner. Premarital sex, yoinked.
Did you do anything to displease me?
Yoinked.
So, we see Patema and like, okay, you just see like a big outfit, you know? It's like a big like
like
overcoat.
a spacesuit type thing, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like, is it a spacesuit? Is she like a miner? Like one who mines? She is a miner. She's 14. But like, she has very cool light up parts on her outfit, so you're like, ooh, sci-fi. But yeah, she's like hustling through like all of these like service access corridors, you know, like there's like pipes and rust and sheet metal and the really scary like metal grid flooring that you can see through. And so it's like, I know it's safe, it's metal, it's the strongest material, but also, I can see the ground. No, thank you. I'm not scared of heights, you're scared of heights. But yeah, so she's like booking it through here, you know, she's having to like dodge under stuff. Then she gets to this like big, it's almost like a grain silo shaped like room, you know, it's just big circle cylinder, it go up and down, and there's like a bridge that is supposed to lead all the way across, but you know how bridges are in movies. This one in the middle's gone. You can't use that as a bridge unless you can jump really far. This is too far to jump. But she like goes out there, and then all these little dust motes are just beautifully illuminated by this shaft of light that comes down, you know? And Patema's like so in awe, except the thing about all these dust motes is that they're all going up and not just like floating. They're like,
yeah,
they go up.
I know. Something I loved about this is that it was really ambiguous. Like it could have just been floating.
Right.
You know, we just didn't know. But anyway.
But yeah, and so this is our first little hint, other than the opening, of gravity being a little silly in this movie, you know? Gravity's doing whatever she wants. Just a little. It's just the whole movie. That's all. But yeah, and so Patema like pulls back her big hood on her big jacket with the LEDs and stuff, and then we're like, oh, this little sweet 14-year-old, you know, protagonist. Like she is, I think, like an only slightly aged up like Miyazaki protagonist. I don't know. I feel like a lot of like Ghibli protagonists are like 8 to 12, you know? Could be wrong, but that's just the vibes I get. And Patema's like 14, you know?
Yeah.
So she's a freshman in high school, still very baby, but like not the babiest. But yeah, so she like looks and everything, and then I don't know, she like hears a scary noise. I don't remember. She stops looking at the go up dust, and so she like scurries back home. She's like, you know, crawling through all these little nooks and crannies, and like, you know, you're kind of thinking like space station or like underground tunnel, like what's going on? And then she pops out of a hole, and there's a bunch of other people that like she lives with, and they're all also wearing big outfits. So that's just like the fashion. That's just what's in style right now. Definitely not because they're practical outfits, probably. You know?
Yeah.
Definitely all fashion based. Like form over function. Who needs her? Who needs function? But yeah, and they're like, oh, we found all these rations in the other tunnel. So, and she's like, oh, that's great. I'm gonna go tell the elder, which is Yeah, it's the elder. She's like, I'm gonna go tell the elder. And so she like runs. I mean, she like sneaks into this room, and it's, you know, like, ooh, like, oh, she's sneaking in. And then like as soon as she like touches down, the light gets turned on her, and she turns around and she's like in her bedroom, and it's very cute. It's got like all these drawings on the wall and everything.
Her bedroom, yeah.
Yeah. And there's just like two dudes just like sitting looking at her like, oh, you're sneaking in, which is fun and silly because, you know, like, oh, you got busted, you know, your dad found out. He's not her dad. He like says that very clearly. The elder, he's like, ever since your dad died, we're taking care of you. She's like the old chief's daughter, because this is a tribe, ? Who knows? But yeah, they're just like talking with her, and they're like, Patema, you gotta like stop running out taking all these crazy risks, you know, like you can't do all that, like you are gonna be responsible for stuff one day. And she's like, but I'm 14 and I can do whatever I want, you know.
Yeah.
And this is when we get introduced to her simp.
Oh, I just have him in my notes as simp. Like,
I think you put his name.
It's shoot.
Porta. Yeah, Porta the simp. I guess he's like 15, so he's like, I'm older than you.
Yeah, he's
you know?
a little bit older and like canon more heavy than every other main character, which is kind of funny to me.
It's the big jacket, I'm telling you.
So the LED lights.
Yeah, it's his battery packs that he has to like keep the LEDs going, you know. But yeah, they're like, oh, like, Patema, you gotta be responsible. And she's like, but I want to explore. I want to see new worlds, like Lagos, which is like an old friend that they've had. And they're like, well, Lagos was stupid, and he smelled bad, and he was dumb.
And he's missing now.
Yeah, and he's missing. So you don't want to end up like him. Don't even think about him. And Patema like pulls out the one like memento that she has. Well,
it's the photograph?
Yeah, she has a couple of mementos from Lagos.
Yeah, there's a keychain.
And there's a little Polaroid. And the Polaroid, like in the little section where you can write down notes about like the picture, it says the real world. And it's a Polaroid of like a tree and a sky. And then you're like, oh yeah, we have been not somewhere where you can see the sky.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Patema like looks at the photo, she thinks about Lagos, there's like a little flashback section. There's a really funny moment where Lagos is like, hey, you still like cute little trinkets, right? You know, like giving her gifts and stuff. And she just like pulls out like a Nintendo DS that's like full of like the little like phone charms. And he's like, oh, oops.
Here's another one.
Yeah, like I should want another one.
It was really funny. There was a lot of good jokes in this movie.
It's very sweet. I think a lot of the humor in the movie is like pretty understated, you know?
Yeah.
Like I never like cried laughing at any point, but
no.
It was still, it's nice and lighthearted, you know?
Yeah, like I'll talk about it later, but like this movie's super tight.
Yeah.
Like everything's satisfied at the end, including the jokes in a weird way. Like nothing too crazy, except for the high concept of this thing. But anyway.
But yeah, so Patema like looks at these mementos and like thinks about exploring and Lagos and everything, and so she's like, well, I'm going back out there. And so she runs out back to the same like grain silo thing, you know, and she like looks at the dust, you know, she's like, oh wow, this is asbestos is beautiful, you know?
I know. Sam, it was so funny. Sam was like, that looks like asbestos.
And we were like, oh no! We said, Patema, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
No.
Do you or a loved one have mesothelioma? Brutal.
Oh no, the mesothelioma.
I'm sorry that the mesothelioma commercials became a meme. I know there are real sufferers, but also we all saw that so often.
Yeah, you know, we don't want to like offend all the victims of asbestos who listen to this podcast.
Yeah, it's gonna be my mommy.
Does she have mesothelioma?
Oh no, I'm saying like the audience for this podcast is going to be just my mommy.
Yeah, I think like legitimately, I want to get 10 listens per episode. That's like my goal. Yeah, I think that's perfect amount because like I feel like we'll be able to get like 3 of our friends and family to hit it, and so if we get 7 strangers, I'd be like, ooh.
Yeah, I like that. I like that as like a good little benchmark. You know? Let's aim for 10 very dedicated fans. Like
honestly.
Yeah.
But anyway, asbestos.
Yeah. And is this where you want to pick it up?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so she went out again. So she's kind of on this, like, bridge thing, and she sees, like, a person hanging upside down. And earlier we established that there, like, talks about these bat people. Mm-hmm. And people in all black and hanging upside down. And the bat person starts, like, chasing her and being creepy. And he's hanging on the ceiling. He's just walking on the ceiling. But the bat person's really important because, like, as soon as he shows up, it's like, she's like, bat person. But in Japanese. And you wonder if he's just hanging there, but actually he's just walking on the ceiling like it's normal. Yeah,
it's not magnet boots. It's not little Velcro shoes, you know?
Yeah, it's not spikes. You know? And he chases her off of the bridge, but he can't follow her onto the bridge because it's a high ceiling. and the ceiling is the floor. So if he got onto the ceiling from where he's at, it'd be a big jump for him.
Yeah, big fall.
Big fall.
Not quite a jump, just a plummet, you know?
So she's safe on the bridge, and she's like, oh, thank God. And she leans up against the railing, and then the railing breaks, and she falls into the, like, abyss.
It was very much like oh, she's safe? No, just kidding.
It was great.
And I was like,
so
oh, God, I got jump scared by a breaking railing.
I think that's, like, one of my, like, the best parts of the movie. Like, I was like, ooh, clever, you know?
You got me.
Ooh, good movie. Patema, after she falls into the void. Later, Patema wakes up on a tree outside of, like, a school. And it's kind of already established that, like, we see a teenage boy, like, leaning against a fence, kind of staring up at the sky.
I couldn't tell, quite honestly, if he was, like, stargazing or if he was, like, falling asleep a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely stargazing, but for a second I was like, why is this boy sleeping outdoors? He's wearing a little suit.
Look at my little man. He's got a briefcase.
He's got a little briefcase, he's got a little suit on. Like, if he were camping, I think he'd have a different outfit, you know?
Yeah.
I was concerned at first. But no, he's just a little space cadet, you know, he wants to go out and stargaze and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, Patema wakes up on a tree, and she kind of sees, like, her backpack hanging off of a ledge, right? So she starts climbing to the ledge. Turns out it's a fence that's upside down. And as she's climbing
is she upside down?
Oh. And as she's climbing the fence, she comes face to face with AG, who is standing on the ceiling. Turns out they have opposite gravities.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's standing on the floor and she's standing on the ceiling, kind of.
So they are low-key, like, face-to-face.
Yeah.
You know? Just, you know, upside down.
Upside down.
Yeah, it's very, like, Spider-Man Kiss-esque, but they don't kiss.
And when you Google, like, clips of this movie, this is, like, the only clip you can find on YouTube. Yeah. I know. I don't know why. It's a little weird. But she gets freaked out and starts, like, kind of squirming. And she kind of, like, does the thing where she starts to fall, and then she grabs something with her hand last minute. She's like, help me. And he's like, what's going on? And she goes, I'm gonna fall. And he's like, what? Because, like, he doesn't understand that she will fall into the sky.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. So he starts to, like, climb up and get her, and then she, like, clings to him, and then they start slowly falling up.
Yeah. Well, I think we have mostly, at this point, it's from AG's perspective, and so they're not falling, they're flying. Yeah, they're floating.
It's
they're
a
like
really beautiful scene.
Yeah. And so, like, we go through, and, like, the music starts to swell, and we see these, like, big sweeping landscapes, and then, like, slowly the camera starts to rotate, and we realize, oh God, for Patema, they're falling. Like, she's
terrified.
Been sucked into space. Like.
Yeah, and it's like the sun sets on them. It's so pretty.
So, like, it's very beautiful, but also, like, all of those nice, beautiful, wide open spaces that they work so hard to, like, you know, convey are suddenly very spooky scary. You know? And it's like, yeesh.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wide open space, you know?
Yeah.
What is this, Texas?
Versus
like?
versus the tunnels we were in earlier.
Yeah.
Honestly, if there's an anime set in Texas, I'm dropping everything. I'm watching that immediately.
Yeah.
The closest thing I guess we have to, like, even just a Western anime I'd be into, but, like, there's a lot of, like, sci-fi Westerns. I know that, but I want a straight up Western. That'd be great.
So, like, they're floating.
She's kind of, like, confused and, like, in awe of the beautiful sky.
He's honestly, he's vibing. He's
vibing.
Like, little man's having a great time.
But
Patema's terrifying.
Yeah.
And, like, just clinging into him. If you've ever, like, had a cat that tried to, like, climb up your leg to get to, like, the kitchen counter.
that's kind of in this whole movie.
Yeah. Like, if she had claws, she would be, like, fully, like, hooked in. Like, she wishes she was Velcro, you know? Like,
yeah.
Understandably. She doesn't want to fall into the abyss of space forever, you know?
Yeah. So she figures out if she ditches her backpack, he will be heavier than her and they will float back down. So she ditches her backpack. And this is when I start thinking, have you ever looked at a face upside down? Or, like, looked at another person while they're hanging upside down? Or, like, just seen a photo of someone upside down?
I guess, like, the closest is if there's a video that I'm like, ooh, this is going to be good or funny. I should show the person I'm with. And then I, like, start to show it to them so that they see it right side up. But then I'm like, oh, wait, I haven't actually seen this video before. So then I'm like, I always I guess unconsciously, go like, no, I want to see this, and so I'll make it so that like we're both looking at it sideways instead. Because otherwise, yeah, the faces look a little silly.
Yeah.
A little weird. They're harder to read.
It's like, honestly, like, I think if this happened to me and I met a AG or whatever, and he was upside down the whole time, I'd be thinking to myself, like, he looks like those 0.5 iPhone pictures of, like, the giant forehead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this guy ugly. Like, he looks weird.
You're like, oh, thanks, little freak, like little goblin man. Like,
yeah.
And then he'd be like, no, I'm a conventionally, drawn anime person. Like,
yeah, I'm protagonist coon.
Yeah.
Number 48 with brown hair.
And he'd be like,
Yeah, this one, he was a little different because he had purple eyes, I believe. But anyway, so AG takes Patema into a shed so she can stay on the ceiling and be safe.
Yeah.
And then
she's so excited to have ground, even though to us it's a ceiling, but she's just like, like, once again, I definitely don't have any kind of fear of heights whatsoever.
Oh, you know what? This movie's terrible for people who like, it's not scary, but
yeah,
like,
it wasn't too bad. But like thinking back on it, I was like, oh, that would not be good for me. I'm glad this was fake and not real. Glad this wasn't a documentary about real things that have happened to people.
Patema inverted the documentary.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's scary. But yeah, no, like, so sometimes you go up to a ledge, and you see a big scary fall below you, and you're like, I don't want to do that. I like being where I'm at. I don't want to experience kinetic energy.
So I have OCD, so the intrusive thoughts are immediately, hey, you should jump off. That'd be kind of fun.
No, I'm like, don't jump. Stop. Like, don't, no, you need a safety barrier. Like, you need a harness, like a climbing harness. You need to be like, 6 feet away from the edge at all times, bare minimum.
I'm the same way. I'll do the one look over and I'm like, yep, okay.
Well, I mean, like, if I'm with people who are like, oh my god, no, it's totally fine, you should look over the edge, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, what usually happens is I'm like, I'm dropping my center of gravity, I'm gonna make it so difficult to fall because I'm already gonna be on the ground, so I'm like, they're crawling, like I'm doing the worm trying to like get up to the edge of this thing. And so
I do that too.
Patema at this point in the movie is like starfishing on the ceiling of the shed, and I'm like, girl, me too, I get it. Right there with you.
And then they have like bonding moments. They talk about like, you're upside down, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like, why is your world like this? It's stupid. What are you talking about? You're the one that's upside down.
And then I forgot how it's get brought up, but EG basically just kind of is like, yeah, my father mysteriously died in a hot air balloon experiment, except it was a hot air balloon without like the balloon part.
Well, I think it's kind of unclear at that point because we get more like grainy VHS footage, which I love as just like the
oh my god
the visual shorthand
that
for
makes
like
me laugh.
This is the past,
Yeah, it made me laugh so hard because like so basically it's just him floating to the sky slowly.
Yeah, and then like a bunch of people are there, and it's also at like 10 frames a second, so
yeah,
it's choppy. This is a PowerPoint.
I know, but he's straight up like it's like who died mysteriously, and then he kind of just like falls out, and I'm like, that dude got sniped. It's so obvious he was sniped the fuck out.
I was like, man, that's so weird that man just pitched over the edge of the thing that he's in,
I wonder what happened to him. He's definitely sniped. This is the anime JFK.
I was gonna say, this man got the JFK treatment. Like,
but anyway, so that happened, and also AG's dad
fell onto a grassy knoll. No.
Oh my god, yeah. And then there's like a torn up picture of AG's dad. So it's like half of a picture, and in that picture AG's dad has like the weirdest like bolo tie looking thing.
I love it. I think bolo ties should come back. I want to wear them all the time.
It's like a bolo tie but with a real tie under it.
Wait, it was?
Yeah, it was really weird.
We're gonna have to look this up. Hold on, let me.
And then he tucked the tie into his pin pocket on his shirt.
Yeah. I do love that little like,
I'm a working man but I wear a tie.
Yeah, I love that like, I'm a architect, scientist, engineer, draftsman, person who works for NASA, whatever, like, and I need to show that I'm working really hard designing the Ford Mustang or like whatever,
in Japan.
Like, who knows, it's just like one of those, because like, I don't know, you see it Ford. Whenever it's like my workplace is like formal because it's the 50s, but like we still work hard, and so we wear short sleeve button ups instead of long sleeve,
Yeah, and we tuck our tie into our pockets.
I love tuck tie into pocket. It's such a fun little cute. I don't know. I think it's fun to be like, that's a cute thing they do in menswear, but that's a cute thing they do in menswear. I like it.
Anytime menswear like slightly goes off, I'm like, good for you. Yeah. Do you know what cropped? This is so random. Cropped like button up shirts are.
Do you mean like the current trend of let's charge you the same amount of money for less fabric?
Yeah, but it's not even like a traditional crop top like for women, or even like men wore crop tops in the 80s, but
no, it's just like
just so that it hangs up. You don't have to tuck it. It hangs right above your belt. And it also gives you the ability to like raise your arm and show us a little sexy stomach, and that's fun. I told my mom about this, and she was like she was blown away. She was like, "No, only gay people wear that." And I was like, "No."
See, when you said cropped, I thought it was gonna be like tummy out, you know?
Yeah, that's also becoming a thing.
Yeah, which like I've seen. I personally,
I've only seen gay people do it though. Gay men especially.
I'm like, crop tops are personally not for me, because I don't need people seeing my soft, tender underbelly, you know? Like, that's my vulnerable spot. Nuh-uh, you know? Very, very much like, I don't want the, you know, the alpha wolf to see that.
What? Who's the alpha wolf?
I don't know. I just, like, I'm not trying to go out in public and see strangers.
Is that literally, like, the strangers of the alpha wolf?
I guess, you know? Like, I'm not trying to get into trouble. Like, I can't expose my underbelly like that, you know? It's a vulnerable spot.
No, I totally get what you're saying. The alpha wolf can't know that I'm squishy.
Yeah. Listen, I've read a lot of Warrior Cats, okay? I know what happens to people who leave their bellies exposed. They get clawed. Oh, but yeah, so Eiji like thinking about his dad, and he's like, man, like, yeah, it sure did suck the day that my dad mysteriously died for no reason.
Definitely
super weird.
Sniped. Yeah.
So weird that he just like fell out of the machine that he was so excited to build and was like definitely aware of the dangers of and like would have been careful in.
We watched this together with Sam.
Mm-hmm. My fiance.
Yeah, and you know, I mentioned this before, but Sam and I went to school together for animation, and we kind of had this bit going, like every once in a while, like, that's CGI, because it's a 2D animated movie,
yeah.
And I was like, that's CGI, that's CGI. But yeah, so Eiji goes back to school. He's like, I'm gonna get you food, and I have to go back to school, or they'll notice I'm missing because this is a dystopian world.
Yeah, I have to go to school, otherwise I will get demerits, and then they won't give me the good snacks in the commissary, or like whatever. I don't know what the, like, spoiler for the summary, but it seems like the consequences for like being a bad little dystopian boy are they turn off your window access, and they also do a scary interview at you, you know, because this is, I think, mostly a movie aimed at children. They didn't want it to get too scary.
Yeah, it's definitely like a preteen type movie.
Yeah. They're like, oh no, look at this bad thing that happened, and I'm like, yeah, he's fine, they didn't stab him, you know, like.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, he still got all of his fingers.
That's why I think I like this movie so much. You know, my mom and I had a conversation about anime recently, because I think I freak her out about anime sometimes because I watch so much of it. But she was like, yeah, I kind of always been turned off to anime because it's super sexual. And I'm like, yes, but
some of it, like,
yeah, like there's like, I don't know. It's kind of like just like regular live action TV. Like, you know, I watched. There was a movie I would just rewatch, John Tucker Must Die. Okay, so it's just a teen rom-com from the early 2000s, right? But like the movie poster is literally like a 17-year-old in underwear with a tramp stamp with the movie title on it. A 17-year-old. Mm-hmm. Like, and she's like talking about how anime sexualizes teenagers, and I'm like, have you seen the America?
Well, did you see like any TV?
There's so many sex scenes in Teen Wolf. Are you kidding me? Like. And like, you can definitely find more stuff. And I enjoyed this movie way more than I would enjoy an animated movie from America for preteens, I think. But
yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so we get glimpses of what the school is like. He looks out a window. The teacher catches him, so he takes away his window privileges and like darkens it.
Yeah, I felt so bad because, like, okay, so Eiji, like, has to, like, run and, like, get to, like, the very scary Epcot moving sidewalk.
Oh,
you know?
yeah. They everybody gets to school on a conveyor belt.
Yeah, which is hysterical. Because, like, it's really funny to watch Eiji, like, run, like, oh, no, I'm gonna be late. And he just, like, stands.
He just gets on a conveyor belt.
He's like, okay, well, I made it. And I'm like, you're not at school yet. Like, you're still in the apartment block. Come on.
This reminds me, like, so when I went to Europe, they were like, hey, when you get on an escalator, make sure you walk up the escalator, not just stand on it. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, in Europe, they actually use escalators correctly. And then, like, because it's like a speed boost. It's supposed to be like, but Americans are lazy. They just stand.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, yeah, but also, like, I think, you know, people who design escalators challenge, make the escalator big enough to have one side where people can stand and one side
that was something else. Like, I think you stay on the right side if you just want to walk up, because, you know, there's also like elderly people who can't walk up the escalator.
Tired, you know?
Yeah,
You don't gotta.
But anyway, that just reminded me of that. Okay.
Yeah, so like he goes to school and like they're all wearing like their little dystopian but like still
Japanese uniform.
School uniforms. So everyone gets a silly little tie.
You're right. Yeah.
It's great. And like of course like the boys' uniforms are black and blue, and the girls' uniforms are black and red, and that's color symbolism.
So he goes to school. His teacher kind of roasts him for having a father who dared to like build a flying machine.
Well, school for them is very much like, I think, what for everyone who like didn't go to Catholic school, I think it's basically what we all
Catholic
think of.
school.
Yeah, I think it's like kind of what we all think of like what Catholic school must be like, because it's the guy at the front lecturing and he's like, this thing happened in history, and that's why we're all so glad
and
that
literally
we follow
like
the good religion, you know.
There's a back mural in the classroom.
Yeah, there's a mural in this classroom
of like sinners getting pulled up into the sky.
Yeah, it's like it's really funny because you're like, wow, this is a really fancy futuristic classroom, but it's also like very sophisticated. Everything's like dark, like walnut wood, you know, but also there's a big projector at the front so everyone can like see the Zoom meeting. I don't know, you know? Everyone's got their own little like individual
in
like,
a classroom, but somehow it's still on Teams, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's got like their own like cool little cubicle desk, and they have a little light that turns on whenever like they're trying to get the teacher's attention to talk. They don't raise their hands; they like click their little Jeopardy like buzzer, you know. But also, it is still definitely set up like anime protagonist classroom, because AG
he's
of
like
course,
at the
the
designated spot.
Yeah. He's like not in the very back row, but he's close and he's up against the window. And he's like looking out the window, being a little space cadet. I love this boy. He's never paying attention to anything ever.
I know.
It's kind of
so
great.
Good.
He's out to lunch mentally 100% of the time, and I can relate. So he's like looking out the window, and not just like looking out the window, he's looking at the sky. Heretic. And so the teacher's like, hey, Eiji, why do you keep looking at the sky? Are you like your dad, who was a lame, stupid, smelly guy who wanted to be in the sky so bad? That's stupid. Why would you want to be in the sky? That's where all the sinners went. And Eiji's like, what? And
Sorry,
the teacher's like 10 points away from Gryffindor, and he turns off his window. He like dims it, and I'm like, oh no, that's so mean.
His window.
I'm like, oh poor boy, like that's escapism. Let him daydream. Come on, you know?
Yeah. So this is where I think so we find out the priest's name from the beginning. His name is Izamura. Mura? Is that right?
Oh god. Probably.
Yeah. He's kind of like the leader of the school, but also kind of a leader in...
He's like kind of the Pope?
Yeah, he's... Yeah.
But like, if the Pope were real nasty.
Yeah, he's like very like Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so much so. It's like crazy. But anyway, I think he sees Patema on a surveillance camera. Is that right? And sends troops to catch her. AJ returns with food, which is kind of like a piece of bread. Or
it's like a sweet bun.
Yeah. And Patema immediately like bites into it. It's super cute. She does like the anime protagonist thing where she takes a big bite, but somehow it doesn't all go into her mouth. So there's like a piece hanging, and then it falls on the floor.
Yeah. Like it falls up for her.
Yeah. And then immediately, it was so funny. I looked at Alex and Sam. I was like, wouldn't that hurt her stomach? And then
to try and swallow something that has opposite gravity.
Yeah. And then it smash cut to her like, my tummy's upset. And I was like,
you're like, I knew it.
Anyway, so they see that the troops are approaching the shed and they are like, oh no. And they start clinging to each other.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to run for it.
And Patema's like, Eiji, oh my god, please don't let go of me. Like,
she like looks out into the sky like, oh, because she don't want to fall.
Oh, we totally forgot. There is this like very cute, sweet moment where Patema's like, I'm terrified of the sky. What are you talking about? And Eiji's like, really? But the sky is kind of nice.
The sky. I think he said the sky.
Yeah, the sky. It's kind of nice. He's like, have you ever like looked at the sky? And she's like, I did come from underground because I'm from the mole people, so I guess
this is the star point, right?
Yeah, and it's at night. You know, this is like the night before AG goes to school again. And so, like, we have AG, like, looking up at the stars, and oh my god, this is beautiful stars. And then Patema, like barely creeps over, like, the edge of the door frame of the shed, you know, to, like, look up, down. And so it's just, like, this, like, beautiful, like, sea of stars just out in front of her. So she's like, oh, maybe the sky is okay.
Yeah.
You know?
There's, like, there's huge character moments about, like, fear of falling and fear of the sky. And it's really good.
They see the troops approaching and they're like, oh god, we gotta make a run for it. You know?
Yeah. So they, like, cling to each other and they basically, like, use each other's gravity to kind of moonwalk jump away.
Yeah, like, they get going. It's kind of weird.
It's a really good chase scene. Like, and then they're like, where are we going? And he's like, oh no, we need to go back to like where you came from.
Yeah, and the big hole in the ground that's fenced off because it's a dystopian future.
Yeah, and she's like, but the troops are like in between us and that. And he's like, no problem. And then he does like this huge jump, and it's like super cool. But then they pull out the nets.
Yeah, they pull out a net gun.
And they
like,
net gun that bitch.
Yeah, like right when you're like, oh my god, they're gonna make it, and then they can somehow go into the hole. Because like at this point in the movie, I'm still trying to figure out like, okay, so if Eiji's heavier than Patema, but she needs to go down, so that means he needs to go. Wait, you know? Like,
yeah, I know. It got really confusing.
I was like, I don't know.
When there's like all the action at the end, I was like, hold on, I can't.
Yeah, like trying to keep like what part is up for what character and what is down for what character. It really seems like it shouldn't be that difficult, but
it's
like
hard.
It gets a little tricky, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And so right as I'm like trying to figure all that out, and I'm like, oh, they might figure it out, and then I'll just watch the movie to find out the answer to the like weird logic puzzle that I've made for myself by not paying super close attention. Yeah, they just get net gunned. And it's tragic.
Yeah. So Patema,
also like it's dead on, you know?
Yeah, it's really funny. It's like, oh, they're gonna make it.
And just,
yeah.
And they just collapse kind of to the ground. I don't know.
Yeah. So Eiji is kind of scolded and reprimanded.
Yeah,
like,
this is the scary interview where they're like, Eiji, you're stupid and stinky and you're never gonna be a good member of society. And Eiji's like, oh no. Like,
yeah, he's basically like, I don't really care.
Yeah, do they even physically threaten him?
No, I think they, I don't know. They say something like you might get kicked out of school or.
Oh, right. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I kind of ruined like the stakes of these moments like affecting me, you know, like you read 1984 in like, you know, freshman year of high school and you're like, yeah, then they strapped a cage of rats to his stomach and the rats ate, you know, their way through his body, and I'm like,
is that from 1984?
Yeah, that's in 1984 the book.
Shoot.
And so at this point, you know, they're like giving him a stern talking to, and I'm like, he didn't even get slapped around a little bit, he's fine.
This is a soft dystopian world.
Yeah, right. Like,
okay, and then we cut to Patema. She's been taken into this tower, and so she's like at the top floor of the tower for Eiji and all the other people.
It's like a very weird, like modern gothic conference room.
Yeah,
it's just kind of
with a high ceiling.
Yeah, but like also not that high. Like I don't know. Like if they had panned up and it was like fluorescence up there, I wouldn't be surprised. You know?
Yeah,
I think it was like a weird chandelier.
It's a skylight, a giant skylight because it's glass.
No, not this one. That's a little bit later.
Oh, yeah.
This is like the weird Pope's little weird room.
Yeah.
It's like his little like base of operations, like where he has a lot of curiosities. I don't know. It just like it felt very corpo, you know?
Yeah, it did. It's supposed to feel like a mix between corporation and like church, I think.
Yeah, but like I don't know. They leaned real corpo heavy on that one.
Yeah. So Patema now has like a weight attached to her, right? And the Izumura,
a weight attached to her, but it's an opposite weight. So it's a weight for her that will pull her into the sky of where we are now.
Yeah.
So it's like pulling her even closer to the
ceiling. So she's now heavier than Eiji.
Yeah. And like heavier than she was before. So
yeah,
she would need to hold on to something extremely sturdy to support not only her body weight, but also the weight of this like big old, you know, ball and chain.
Yeah. And this is where Izumura like gets really like Frollo with it, where he basically grabs Patema, kind of like holds her outside the window, so she's like gonna fall into the sky.
He, like drags her to the balcony,
and he's like, "I love how you cling to me."
Yeah, it's super
so
gross.
creepy.
He's like, "If you want to live, you need to cling to me and only me. I'm the only one that can save you from falling into the sky."
Exactly. And then he also reveals, I have found one of your people before.
Yeah, I knew more of you would come after I discovered this guy.
Yeah, and literally it's like they like reveal a test tube and it's Lagos's dead body just floating in a test tube.
So like this like older brother figure that has been missing for years at this point, you know, from
the guy from the beginning who gave her the picture and the keychain.
Yeah. And so like the guy that inspired her to like go out and explore in the first place, like it's just his like corpse that's being preserved in like this, you know, formaldehyde test tube.
Yeah.
And so I think this is like bigger stakes than them just being a little mean to Eiji, you know?
Yeah, this was the point where I was like, all right, this is the PG part of the PG movie.
Yeah, I don't know, like I feel so bad. I'm like, they weren't upsetting enough.
Yeah.
Know?
Yeah, I think that's why I liked it, because I like dystopian without like all the stakes is kind of what I crave.
That's fair. I don't know. I kind of need the media to have worse stakes so that I can go back to real life and be like, well, at least it's not like that movie.
That's fair.
If I watch a movie and I'm like, we have it worse, you know, then I'm like, this is an effective dystopia. It's not escapism.
So AG, after being reprimanded and yelled at for being a weirdo, returns to the same fence that he met Patema at, and then he's like, I hope she's okay. And then basically Porta like yeets down on a rope, a rock repels. He repels down on a rope, and he's like, oh crap! And he climbs back up on the rope.
Yeah, because he like not only sees the sky hole, you know?
Yeah, he sees AG.
And he's like, a bad person, you know?
Yeah. And then so he like crawls back on the rope and like peeks down around at him. Yeah. It's really cute. So they're like, oh crap, do you know Patema? Yeah, I know Patema. Where is she? She's in the tower. Oh my god, we gotta help her. AG grabs onto Porta, and Porta's heavier than AG.
Yeah, so they wind up going into the underground instead of into the sky.
Yeah. Like, so they're pulling him, and they're like, wow, he's lighter. And he just shows up with AG. Yeah. I think teenage me really liked this movie because there's a lot of touching. I'm like, ooh, they're hugging a lot. I love that. Like, oh my God, this is making me feel feelings. Anyway, so this is where AG meets the society's leader and kind of sees Patema's room, and they kind of devise a plan to...
Yeah. Really quick, that is like such like a little like teenage like romance hint trope. Like seeing the other person's room, you're just like, oh my god, like I'm seeing like a little window in your
boy in my room. Ooh.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like, I see what you're doing here. Like you're not gonna fool me, Yasuhiro Yoshida.
I've been watching you sleep for months now.
No, that's too far. Going on a record, that's too far. Don't do that.
So they discover that they can get into the tower from the underground because the tower towers above the ground, but it also goes into the underground.
Yeah, so the elder has like a big map and is like, yeah, the tunnels that we live in used to be connected to the the headquarters of.
It was supposed to be a space where we could both connect or something.
Yeah. We were gonna learn how to understand one another, but in recent years, that's gone quiet.
Everybody became bigoted.
Yeah. All of a sudden, the Fire Nation, racism attacked. And invertedism? They call people who
inverts.
They call people with opposite gravity inverts.
Which is funny. Like, I don't know. It does sound like a slur a little bit. I'm not, you invert.
Yeah, but also, I don't know. It is definitely very, like... Sometimes you read a sci-fi or a dystopia and they come up with like what is supposed to be a new slur, but it just sounds so goofy.
Oh, you know? I love when they do that. I especially love when they come up with curse words.
Oh yeah, it's very similar.
So funny. It's never good.
It's never good. It always like takes me out.
Oh, flog or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's not.
Yeah. Wow, this is really made for 14-year-olds, huh?
Yeah. The author wanted to swear without actually swearing.
Yeah, the author is definitely Mormon again. So AG and Porta have this really funny like buddy cop type scenes where they're clearly rivals. Like I think Porta at this point has caught on that AG likes Patema, and Porta also likes Patema because he's a little simp.
Because she's the only girl in the movie.
Yo, you're right. There's no other 14-year-old girls underground.
Yeah,
it's like, either her or another elder.
Yeah, all the other 14-year-old girls are above ground and they're all boring. Yeah, they go to the boring school.
Yeah.
And AG doesn't like them. You know why? Because he's never looking at the inside of his classroom. He's always looking out the window.
Yeah.
What a dweeb.
He's like, girls, I look at the glass.
Yeah.
I prefer things that are clear.
Girls, I yearn for the sky.
So they have a lot of physical comedy as they're trying to like navigate their way through this tower. Like they have this scene where they both are looking around a corner and then they bump heads.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty great.
And then the camera starts turning towards them, so Porta, like, grabs AG and, like, they roll across the ceiling, which is really funny.
This is the point where they're, like, breaking into...
the tower, yeah.
Yeah, like the dystopian technology tower.
And this is, like, my favorite trope of, like, two men who hate each other, but they love...
But they have to work together to save the woman they love.
Yeah, like, watching, like, romance movies, it kind of made you realize, like, all that crazy stuff of, like, the alpha male loves me and he'll kill anybody to be with me. Yeah. It's not like the fantasy of like having a murderous boyfriend. It's the fantasy of being wanted so badly
they'll do anything.
Yeah.
Including work with someone that they dislike.
And so this is like my favorite part. Like, this is my favorite interpretation of like, I hate this guy, but I'll work with him if it means saving you.
I'll work with him for you if it means we'll kiss later.
By the way, we need to work on our anime voices because I think it'd be really funny to. Patema. I can't do it.
Eiji.
So finally, they reached the top floor.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So at this point, we see Patema where she's like been held after she got out of like the scary conference room. And this Loki was like one of the, the images that like kind of got to me because they have, first of all, this tower is like the only tall thing.
Yeah.
For miles, like everything else is just like wide open
one
fields.
Story or like a wide open field.
Yeah. Like maybe we've seen like a 5-story apartment building, but like that's it. This tower,
straight up skyscraper.
Yeah, it's enormous. It dominates the the skyline, and then the very tippy top floor is a giant skylight for a ceiling. So you can just see the entire like night sky through it. And then not only is it just like a really high ceilinged room, because it's like at least like 3 stories high, like this one room.
Oh yeah,
I feel like, and so there's like a plinth, with like stairs like leading up to it in the very middle of the room. And then there's like a big weird industrial like construction worker bunk bed. It really looked like they just like grabbed some like scaffolding off of like the side of a building in New York and they were like, what if it was a bunk bed? Like,
yeah,
that's like sort of the visual language that it has.
She still has the weight on and she's just sleeping.
And so Patema's just like she's like inches away from like just like the glass separating her, Or not inches away. Like, there's enough space between her and the glass that she would be falling for a while, and she would definitely bust through if she fell out of this bed.
I didn't connect the dots.
I think that's, like, what really, like, got me. I was like, oh, God. Like,
yeah.
So, like, Patema's, like, in her, like, super scary bunk bed.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrifying.
AJ and Porta make it to the final floor.
Yeah.
But the ceiling's so high, Porta's like, oh no, I have to find another way up. And he's like, take care, go find Patema. Yeah. So AJ runs up all the scaffolding.
Yeah.
And Patema, this is where we're cut to Patema. And she's all depressed in her bed. And it's really scary because she's like on the glass ceiling.
Yeah, she like looks over the edge and then she's like away from the edge. And I'm like, me too, girl. Like,
yeah, she's doing like fetal position and like hugging herself. And then all of a sudden we hear poo-choo, poo-choo, and it's like footsteps and he hugs her and it's really cute. Yeah. Like he just shows up in frame. It's really sweet. It's prepubescent romance is like so wholesome all the time. Yeah. And he's like
to give her a big hug.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And then he's like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's okay. And he's like, all right, let's get out of here. And he breaks the ceiling.
Yeah.
Does he do it with the weight? I forgot how he does it.
I don't 100% remember.
But anyway, she has the weight on now. So
No, it's still attached to her. So I don't know how he breaks the ceiling.
Oh,
I thought it was an accident. I thought they didn't mean to go out there.
Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, the ceiling is broken. Mm-hmm. And they start slowly floating into the sky because Patema is now heavier than AG.
With this big old weight on her.
Yeah.
Like,
and so he like sticks his
feet like 20 pounds.
In around the glass to try not to get them floating up. And this is when all the troops arrive, right when they're in this predicament.
Mm-hmm. There's so many surveillance cameras. Like, it's a dystopian post-apocalyptic society. Of course they're recording your every whereabouts, you know? Like,
I know people are like worried about this here in Texas. And low-key, like, I watch a lot of true crime. Mm-hmm. You know what always saves the day?
The surveillance cameras and footage.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, this person was last seen in front of this convenience store, and because of that, we were able to also see the killer. Yeah, I know. For real.
And traffic cameras.
Yeah. I don't want the government to follow me. And I'm like, they're not going to follow you until you're like, a victim.
Yeah.
Or a suspect.
Are you doing anything suspicious? Like, oh no, you're carrying a gun in Texas? Wow. Yeah, I definitely watch you on a camera. Yeah. You and the other 35 people carrying a gun. Mm-hmm. Okay. So
the troops arrive.
Yeah. Uzumura arrives with his right-hand man, Jakku, and other troops. And Uzumura grabs Patema and tells Jakku to shoot AG. And Jakku hesitates because it's a child.
He's like, do I commit child murder today?
Yeah. And they're all on the roof of this building now.
Yeah, and it's night. And so, like, it's just big old star void
and when
of the sky.
Uzumura, like, grabs Patema and shoves AG, there's this cool scene of AG like rolling,
and then he almost like rolls off the roof.
Yeah,
and this giant skyscraper.
It's really cool. It's really good. And he's like, shoot him, And Chaku's like, it's a child. And we're like, what's going to happen? And all of a sudden, Patema starts climbing the Pope guy, Uzumura, like a tree, and jumps onto Eiji and grabs onto his weight. And then they yeet into the sky, like way too fast. Like super, like it's so funny. Because like earlier when they were like, oh no, she's too heavy now. Like it was like a very slow. But this time it's like,
yeah, like that. The weight they got on her is making them like go, like they're flying, you know?
Yeah.
I think one of them passes out, which
Patema, yeah.
Yeah, understandable. I think I too would pass out at that point. Like I would be so scared that I'd be like, we're gonna shut down, restart, you know?
Yeah. So they fall into the sky. Izumura's like, report Eiji's death as an accident. Yeah. And they're like, okay. So they're like floating through the sky, right? There's really pretty pictures of the clouds like funneling because the gravity's changing. And that's super cool. And Patema.
I missed that part.
Huh?
I missed that part.
Oh, maybe we were asleep.
Yeah, probably. This is like the point of the movie.
Like the start of the third act.
Here's the thing. If I lay down on the couch, all bets are off. If I can remain like seated upright, you know, I'll be fine. It's hard to fall asleep. But
this is like the meme. We're the meme of like
don't
lay down.
Yeah, every dad ever being like, I'm just gonna rest my eyes, you know, like that's me.
I was thinking about the boyfriend girlfriend meme of like, oh, you want to watch me play video games? And she's like, sure. And she gets a blanket and like lays down. And he goes, don't lay down. You're gonna fall asleep. And she's like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love watching Sam play. What's it called?
Zelda?
No, Norman Reedus has to walk a lot.
Oh.
Death Stranding.
Yeah. I was like Bloodborne.
That's a very different game.
Other game with like death, like blood.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Blood, death, blood standing. Deathborn.
Deathborn's got to be a game.
No, that's
got to
the
be
anime.
out there.
That's the anime where the spooky notebook fall from the sky and then you write in it. And...
Death Note.
Oh, that's the name. No, I love watching Sam play Death Stranding because it's so comfy cozy. Because like, is there anything comfier or cozier than like falling asleep to the sound of rain falling? That's like 90% of Death Stranding. It's great. Then the other half is like weird spooky noises and like gunfire, but I can usually tune that out.
Oh,
because I'm already asleep at that point. It's great.
Yeah, you know, funny story. Also, there's a really bad neighborhood I was in. Sometimes there were like gunshots. A little, like very rarely, but it happened.
Are you sure they were gunshots, or was someone just playing Death Stranding really loud?
Yeah, it was also raining, but it wasn't. So maybe
weird.
But anyway, they were fixing the roof across the street from me, and I literally didn't check for like hours because I was like so scared by it. I was like, oh my god, that's a really long, big gunfight. And then I look out and they're hammering like shingles into.
Oh my god!
Like I'm so
like, it's
stupid.
A staple gun.
I'm so dumb. Anyway, I live in a nice neighborhood now. The houses, like, we live in an apartment complex, but all the houses around us are like minimum $500,000.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't afford that.
Yeah,
but
there's
also
like a mansion.
Like, they're like tiny.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. The houses immediately around us are like so small. And they're so expensive,
like
and they
1,400
have no
square foot.
It's ridiculous. I'm like, why would I pay that much on a mortgage if I'm not even gonna have a 2-car garage? Like,
yeah,
excuse me,
it's dumb. So. And then like on
then
the
all
other
houses
side,
are mansions.
Yeah, like there's another neighborhood on the other side of our apartment, and that's where I like to run because that's like the $3.5 million homes. Like it's great. I love it. Anyway, so they're falling into the sky. Patema is unconscious. Eiji's clinging to her. They're going through the clouds. It looks super cool. Eiji is like looking down at the ground and is like terrified he's gonna fall.
He's like, oh, falling is scary. I get it now.
Yeah, I know. I was like, this is the most manly character moment for him. Like, oh no, I have empathy now for how she felt earlier.
Now that I'm put in a similar situation, I understand.
Yeah, I could not think about gravity for a little bit.
Sandra Bullock.
I couldn't trust her why she was scared. I thought she was just being stupid.
I thought she was being a dramatic woman.
Maybe she was on her period.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's clinging to Patema because she's unconscious, so she can't cling back right now. The stars start appearing above him, and then they start like forming a mechanical ceiling. Mm-hmm. And I didn't connect the dots at first, but the Wikipedia says the mechanical ceiling is what creates the atmosphere. And that's why the kind of clouds are like around it and stuff. And they land on the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
And they're also kind of right above where I guess the flying machine took off, and also where Patema is first found, because they find both the flying machine
and her backpack.
Yeah. This is his father's flying machine, by the way. And they're like, oh my God, look at that. Patema has woken up at this point, by the way. And they kind of yeet over there, a little moonwalk over there.
Yeah, and they get in like the little basket of the flying machine, and they find like Eiji's dad's little satchel, and it has his little notebook in there, which is like his little diary and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's a big book. I don't know why I keep saying little.
It's like,
yeah,
smaller than a bread box.
I don't think I've ever seen a bread box.
I know. Do you play 20 questions at all?
I hate that question. I hate that as a question. I'm like, I get it, but who uses a bread box anymore?
That's one of the things I want to keep in, like, along with pound instead of hashtag. I'm gonna keep saying pound. You know?
Bread box.
And bread box, yeah. Just kind of pisses people off enough. And so this is in this research notebook that they found of his father's. They find the other half of the picture, and it's of Lagos. So it's Lagos and his dad together.
Yeah.
And it turns out Lagos and Eiji's dad knew each other, were research partners, and even lovers, possibly.
I mean, probably not, but we like to think.
Yeah,
that,
fan theory.
Maybe. I mean, like,
immediately we were like, they were lovers.
Has to Spider-Man kiss in this movie, or I'm gonna lose it. There's so many opportunities for so many cute little Spider-Man kisses, and no one does it, and so like we just have to assume, let me have this. They're two sweet men who are like very into like scientific discovery, and like making new relationships with like people who are different than themselves, and so maybe what if they kiss a little bit? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. There's also, if it wasn't obvious before, this movie has very strong religious overtones.
Oh, extremely.
Yeah, of like oppression and religion and stuff.
Yeah.
It would make sense if they were gay.
Oh my God, you're so right.
I'm just
I didn't
saying.
even think about that. I didn't put two and two together.
So, turns out they made the flying machine together, and they used the weight on Patema's leg. They used that to create the flying machine. So, like the weights that are from Patema's gravity, or what is bringing the flying machine up. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, wow, this is so great. And I forget exactly what happens, but they both look at each other at the same time, and they're at the perfect height to almost kiss. They almost Spider-Man kiss.
We almost had it, but they're 14.
I know. Yeah.
And the director was like, don't need that. It's fine. And I said, that's fair.
Yeah. And they say some cheesy stuff. And Wikipedia says that they confess their love to each other, but I don't think they say love. I think they say something else.
Yeah, they do the thing that like always happens in like very, preteen or like just very young adult, like,
I like you a lot.
Yeah, that's like, no, it's the kind of stuff that's like, maybe we were meant to meet each other. Like, maybe we needed to.
Yeah.
It's one of those where it's like really vague, but it's like
they definitely like each other.
I'm really glad that our paths crossed and we were able to have this time together, or like something,
Yeah.
I'm like, y'all aren't dying. Calm down. Like,
you're my really good friend.
Yeah, right.
So they figure out, like, they use those weights, so they start taking the weights out of the flying machine and start floating slowly back down to where the school is and all that.
Mm-hmm. And there's all these kids on the conveyor belts, and they're like, what's that? An unusual occurrence in our perfect dystopia? Like,
yeah. Well, while this is happening, Jakku, the Pope's right-hand man, is, like, going through Eiji's father's, like, background, and he figures out, oh my God, they ordered his death. And they're trying to secretly hide that their atmosphere is made by, like, this weird mechanical ceiling for some reason and all this stuff. And Izamura finds Jakku, and this is where he's also at the, like, surveillance machine thing, and he sees them floating down. Well, he catches Jakku. He's like, what are you doing? And Jakku's like, nothing. And then they see Patema and Eiji floating on the flying machine on the surveillance video. This is when, like you mentioned, students start to see the flying machine, and they're like, oh my God, is that Eiji? Oh,
I thought he died.
Yeah, he didn't die mysteriously. Hey, isn't that like the thing that guy definitely got sniped out of?
They're like, wow, that's so weird. How did Eiji manage to find his dad's flying machine?
Yeah, and then they get off the conveyor belt, and this is where I wrote in my notes, the children yearn for the belts.
I was waiting for you to say that, because that is the funniest sentence. I cracked up. I was reading this at work, trying to get ready for the podcast tonight, like looking it over, and I saw that, and I just did one of those very audible, like, Yeah. Snorted.
Oh man, yeah. They just, I don't know. It made me laugh. It doesn't even make sense. Like it's not even that good, but it made me laugh.
It got me though.
It did the job. They figure out his death wasn't accidental, and they're like, wait a minute. So AG and Patema start seeing the troops like approaching their flying thing, and they're like, oh well, we can't land with the flying thing, so we're gonna jump off here. They jump off. Patema managed to get the weight off earlier in the movie, so now AG is heavier than Patema again, and they like kind of moon jump back into the void where Patema came from.
The big hole.
Yeah, the big hole. And both Uzumura and Jakku follow them into the into the void. I think they use the flying machine to get down there too.
I think so. I don't 100% remember.
So they're following them into the underground. And this is when what's the simp name? Porta is catching up to them, trying to help. The elder is also there somehow. I forget how. And eventually they all land at the bottom of this chasm. Mm-hmm. And
it's like a big dirt floor.
Yeah. Uzumura shirts and wounds Jakku and tries to kill Patema, but the floor collapses and it reveals like a blue sky.
Yeah.
So they're at the bottom of the underground and their floor collapses and it reveals a blue sky somehow.
Yeah. Except to be clear, the bottom of the floor is the ceiling for Patema and all of the underground people. It is the floor for all of the topsiders.
For AG and the weird Pope and Jakku.
Yeah, the Eigans. I don't know if we ever mentioned the fact that...
Oh, is it called Aga?
It's called like Iga or something.
Okay, I thought it was Aga or Iga. And I was like, I'm not going to try.
AIGA.
AI?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Stable diffusion.
Yeah, it's all those damaged buildings. Like, so we look into this world. It's all the damaged buildings from the beginning of the movie when things start floating up.
Yeah.
There's the moon is visible. It has a ring of debris around it, which is super cool, like Saturn.
Yeah. Oh my god, we never mentioned the reason the gravity got bad in the first place is because scientists were trying to play God and they were trying to figure out a way to make a more sustainable energy source by playing with gravity, but they went too far.
Yeah, it's great. That's what the priest says in the beginning. He's like, they tried to play God, and now the sinner is floating.
And so God punished them.
So Izumori starts floating into the sky and holds on to Patema. So it's like a reverse of early in the movie where he's like, you have to cling to me, little.
Yeah, it was like super nasty.
Yeah. But Patema loses his grip, and the broken sky machine, like as the ground falls, like it hits him on the way out.
Oh yeah, it like bonks him.
And he flies in the sky. It's great.
Yeah. And it's like, interesting. You said everyone who go into Sky Center. Like you.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I was like, this is satisfying.
Yeah.
I miss classic villain deaths so much.
Your comeuppance is, like, completely justified.
Yeah. Bring old villains back, my opinion. So, Patema also starts flying into the sky.
No, it'd be AG at this point, right?
Yeah. Well, Patema starts to fall, and AG, like, yeets and, like, catches her. Oh, because she lets go of the priest.
I thought it'd be the other way around. Oh, right. They're still, like, over the hole.
Yeah.
So
this is what happened. Uzumura clings onto Patema to not fall into the sky. Falls into the sky anyway, so Patema starts falling back down. Mm-hmm. And that's when AG, like runs and jumps and grabs her. And they land on the ground and he passes out.
He glomps her?
Yeah. There's a lot of tackle hugging in this movie.
A lot of glomping.
I'm kind of here for it.
You're here for glomping?
Yeah. Honestly, John, if you're listening to this, I would like a glomp. Just one.
I'd like to request one glomp.
Run and hug.
Dang, girl, what you trying to get into?
Hold on, honey, I need a running start.
God.
Anyway.
It's too silly.
So AG wakes up. They're on the surface of the quote-unquote real world with the cool moon Saturn thing.
Yeah.
And he's looking out on the city, and all the ruins are like overgrown with grass and super pretty, and the moon's out. He's like, whoa.
So this is the real world.
Yeah. So it's revealed that the real world was below the underground, if that makes sense. And that Patema...
Patema's gravity was the original gravity of Earth, and that AG's gravity was the inverted gravity.
Yeah, so the priest and AG, like according to the priest's own
doctrine.
Yeah, are the sinners.
Yeah. And so basically, the elder at this point pulls like a total troll move and is like, "Yeah, I knew this all along. I was just gonna wait to tell y'all until Patema was old enough." And I was like, "Man, like."
I know. He's like, "The chief explained this earlier," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"That would have been nice to know."
Yeah, and I was like, "Well, why wouldn't you tell somebody at that point?" Obviously, you wouldn't do it for dramatic effect, but still, the scientists felt bad for the people that were originally affected, like the original inverts, after the gravity fiasco. And so the ones that were able to escape underground, like they were like, "Oh well, like y'all are still human and like we're still lived on Earth like us up until your gravity was messed up." And so they like made them a little artificial topside.
Yeah,
basically
they invented Hollow Earth.
Yeah, this is a Hollow Earth theory movie. Hollow Earth is real. Hollow Earth has
cute anime girls.
Yeah, it has cute anime girls. It has big jackets with LEDs on them. It has silly little bolo ties. It has possible gay romance. I'm here for Hollow Earth.
So AG is like, "Patema, I want to look over there," and she's like, "Are you sure? It's kind of scary."
And he's like, "I'm cool and tough. I got it."
Yeah.
And he looks over and he's like, "Oh, you're right. It is kind of scary, but it's beautiful."
Yeah.
Yeah.
She puts on a backpack, so she's heavier than him this time.
Yeah.
And they go out, and this part is so funny. First of all, Jakku's like looking over the edge, like, "Are you sure, man? It looks pretty scary. Like, I could fall in the sky right now if And he's like, and both Patema and AG look at him like, "We trust each other. See ya."
Yeah, like, the bond we have is special. We have an understanding.
This is the ninja way.
That's my ninja way.
And then Porta the simp is like upset. He's like, "Oh man, they're hugging," basically.
Yeah.
And
they picked each other, not me.
yeah. Oh, and an interesting thing I found from watching clips online and this. So the clips online were the dub, and we watched the sub. In the sub, Jakku like comforts Porta and is like, "It's okay, man. There's plenty of fish in the sea. It's all right." In the English version, he's like, "Bigger things are going on right now. You need to stop worrying about your girlfriend. You're not girlfriend."
Life.
Yeah.
That's so good.
That was really funny. And then the movie ends with Patema and AG looking over the overgrown city and at the moon and roll credits.
Yeah.
But yeah, what'd you think?
I thought it was a good movie. It was like very lighthearted. So like looking at all the big long list of like anime movies that we've curated, I was like, "Ooh, this one's a sci-fi one. I want to watch that," because in my brain, sci-fi and or dystopia is going to be a lot darker than this movie was. And so
yeah.
I wasn't like disappointed, I wasn't like, no one suffered horrible consequences. Like, oh no, this is a movie that like was just nice and fun and like a good lighthearted time. Ugh. But yeah, it wasn't 100% what I was expecting, but like in a nice way,
Yeah. Yeah, I have a feeling that anything dark and like all the things I don't like in anime movies that give me like
I'm gonna be like,
dread.
Yeah, it's gross. Yeah.
Well, no, you're gonna be like, "Woo, this is my type of movie," and then my type of movie is like romance, and low stakes, and like
yeah, I don't mind romance or low stakes. Just like I don't know, I hear sci-fi, and that just is a very different connotation.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like Cowboy Bebop eyeball needle surgery. Like,
ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Sorry.
But yeah, I was
thinking,
really,
Akira.
I was really impressed. So I love 90-minute movies, and this movie is 99 minutes, but whatever. Where it's an hour and a half. It's super tight. Like, can you picture cutting anything out of this movie?
There's really not a lot.
Yeah. Like, if anything, I would add another scene of Patema and AG hanging out before the troops find him.
Yeah.
But that would be
That was a little rushed.
Yeah. It was just tight. Everything was satisfying. Everything like had a beginning and an ending. Like, for example, Lagos came up later. He's dead, turns out. But also, he was friends with AG's dad.
Yeah.
And then
that explains like all of AG's dad's thing.
And then also, like, AG has this arc of like, "I don't understand why you're scared of falling." And then that comes back around because he has to trust other people to carry him. Mm-hmm. And it's just very satisfying and stuff. The only thing that I felt like was kind of like left hanging was Bat People. Like, who are the Bat People?
Oh, no, the Bat People are like the scary troops.
But what were they doing? They were just monitoring?
Yeah, they were just like doing like recon, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of like unexplained. But honestly, I literally did not think about it until I was thinking about how perfect this movie was written. And then I was like, wait, this one thing.
Yeah, it was just like after years of like not talking to each other, you know? It's like, our patrol came in contact with their patrol, you know, basically.
Yeah, something.
One thing that was initially a little confusing to me was the mechanical ceiling, because I was falling asleep at the time. Sam, my fiance, was like, no, I don't think that just makes the atmosphere. I think that's the core of the Earth itself. And I said, yo!
That makes a lot of sense.
I hope that's what it was, because that'd be
cool.
I would like it.
That would make a lot of sense.
Because also there's, like, the reason why they leave the core ceiling is obviously they don't have any food, they're gonna run out, you know, that's not good. But also, as it, like, turns to day, because they, like, when they fly up there and land, it's, like, nighttime. And so they're, like, going through the stars. But yeah, like, part of the reason why they're like, oh, we should leave right now immediately, is because it turns to daytime, and it gets so hot.
Oh, yeah.
They start to, like, get a little roasty toasty up there. So.
Yeah, because when they get there, it's cold because it's night.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. And also, so, like I said, I watched Sing a Little Bit of Harmony, which I believe is his newest movie.
I think so. I think it's at least one of his newer projects.
And, you know, like, maybe we'll get to it one day. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like sci-fi, optimistic movie. It's also a musical.
Ah, that's fun.
Yeah, which is what I was like, a sci-fi musical? I'm all in. I'm going to watch this. And it was cute. I like this movie better.
You're like, this one's gooder.
Yeah, this one's tighter. I feel like the romance makes more sense. Stuff like that. And then something else, like, when I was going through the Wikipedia, they were like, see these other 3 movies that all came out around the same year. Like, it was like 2012 to 2013. There was an American sci-fi movie called Upside Down. Same premise, basically. Mm. But it was, like, adults. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen Upside Down. It's so forgettable. I don't even remember what it's about. And there was also Heads Over Heels, which was an animated short film, but same premise. Like, boy and girl, opposite gravities. Oh no, they can't touch.
What was on the water that year?
I know, it's so weird.
That's so specific. What a weird specific trope to, like, have been picked up.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that movie Upside Down. That might be a fun rewatch, because I bet it's not good.
Yeah.
But anyway, you have some fun facts for us?
Yeah, well, okay. So for fun facts, I low-key don't know how to look up fun facts. So what I've been doing is just looking up interviews with, like, the director or anybody who worked on the movie.
It's probably hard to find fun facts for anime movies.
It's a little, yeah, like, I just don't know the best way to go about it. So I can at least tell you some, like, crazy stuff that I found in the interviews. Yeah, so fun fact. The director, Yoshihiro Yasuhiro, has stated that he did not really have an idea for the movie beyond the poster at the beginning.
Oh, cool.
He was just like, this is a cool and interesting piece of art, and then he did all of the world building off of that.
Wow.
He started with just, like, a promo image. Like,
you know what? That makes a lot of sense.
It does kind of make sense, because, like, if I have one critique, it's that the world building is just, like, a little thin. You know? Granted, I'm someone who likes it when someone who's making a story spends way too long talking about all the little world building details, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I love it when they just, like, really get into the weeds.
Where's
with that
the class
stuff.
system?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you know, I'm like, cool, what's their, like, money like, you know?
Yeah.
How are people elected to,
you know what? I kind of meant to say it earlier. So this movie's tight. It has a cool premise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's, like, a great movie.
Yeah,
you know?
I think it's solidly good.
It's very solid. It's competent. It's great.
Yeah.
It's just not, like...
Easy 7 out of 10, I think.
Oh, yeah. But
Yeah.
There's something holding it back. I couldn't place what it is. Maybe it's world building.
It might be world building, just a little bit. It would be way longer if they, like, went into any of that, you know?
Well, there's probably a way they could have...
Yeah.
Like mentioned, like,
it's not the end
your
of the
dad
world.
couldn't go to the sky because he was only a plebeian.
Yeah.
Only elders can go to the sky.
Yeah, or, like, something. I don't know. Like, he didn't have enough citizen credits to you know...
Yeah.
Make up for the disgrace of breaking rule number 35. Like...
Yeah, something like that.
Otherwise, he'd have to go to space jail. I don't know. Like... But yeah. Fun fact. Okay, I think it's funny because there's, like, a bunch of stuff that, like, you picked up on that I then later found in the interviews.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I'm like, man, it'd be so smart. Like,
oh, what do
I'm glad we're doing this.
That's the animation degree at work.
Yeah. So the staff, like the animators who were, like, hand drawing these characters, they said that they were worried, like, they were like, oh my god, are you gonna be able to, like, read their expressions? And they were also worried about whether or not the backgrounds would, like, work visually if you're constantly flipping upside down or right side up.
Oh.
And then also the animators at least some of them would draw one character, write that up, and then they'd have to like flip their paper over to draw the other character, like write that up, because they were like, I'm gonna mess up the face, they're gonna look weird, they're gonna look like little gremlins, like I can't do this, you know?
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of fun, because you were like, man, our face is weird upside down, and I'm like, the animators thought so too.
Yo,
and they just didn't deal with it. They said, we're gonna do it right side
You know,
up.
I'll be real, if I met John and he was opposite gravity for me, don't know if I'd be attracted to him. Maybe I would, because then we'd definitely be Spider-Man kissing level, because he's tall.
That's true.
Anyway.
You wouldn't be able to help yourself. You'd be like, oh my god, we got a Spider-Man kiss?
Your lips are perfect level for me. And that's how you found out, that's how you date in that world.
Yeah. Finding your soulmate on your 16th birthday by everyone lining up and seeing whose lips are at the perfect height. And then also I'm sorted into a Hogwarts house that's based on my personality type, and it also determines my job for the future. Like,
oh yeah.
just every...
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy. Fun fact, the director is afraid of heights. He said, I wanted people to share my horror or my concern for high places, ! Like,
yeah.
he said, y'all are gonna be freaked out too. But yeah, fun fact, you were like, oh, like, wow, it, like, we totally see, like, the slow progression of, like, AG, like, seeing things from Patema's perspective, and that was totally on purpose. Like, as the movie goes, it changes to Patema's point of view, and that signifies AG starting to understand her and her fears. I'm doing my eyebrows kind of silly.
Mm-hmm. Good for him, having empathy.
Yeah. Fun fact, the art director was apparently skeptical about whether or not it would be scary to fall into the sky. And I'm like, well, you're wrong. It would definitely be scary.
Yeah.
And so he was, quote unquote, very cautious or quite attentive about how high to make the sky and what sort of distance to keep the clouds and things in order to maximize the effect of it being scary.
Okay, I see what he's saying now. Because if the clouds were too big, it would just kind of look like she would fall into... That totally makes sense.
No, like, they convey space and distance, you know, extremely well, I think. Fun fact. They were talking with the director. They were like, oh, like, is it easier to make a sci-fi because, like, it's not real? And the director said, you could say that it would be easier to make a fake or imaginary world with anime rather than live action. But to make a fantasy or sci-fi anime that seems almost true, not totally fake, that's really difficult. It doesn't just include drawing pictures, but it has to be based or have layers of knowledge so that it becomes believable. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. And realizing a little bit that, like, because the world building's a little flat, that, maybe he was a little self-conscious about that.
I know. It's so obvious that it's like Catholic and Christian expired religious-wise.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what he's talking about. He's like, oh, you know what? Creepy religion. Let's look into Christians a little bit.
I mean, that's just kind of like, isn't that just low-key a theme in, like, Japanese anime? Like, that there's a reason why Evangelion is like that.
You're right.
Yeah. Director claims to have been inspired. He says he was inspired. He's not claiming anything when it's about his own experience. But he said he was inspired by 1984, a Brazil, which is by Terry Gilliam, and also by Gattaca. I didn't realize anyone else had seen the movie Gattaca. Forgive me if
What
I'm
is
wrong.
Gattaca?
Yeah, Gattaca is like a late 80s, early 90s sci-fi movie. Ethan Hawke is in it, and he's like a little baby boy.
I don't even know who Ethan Hawke is. Who's that?
Have you seen Stranger Things?
Oh, he's the dad kind of figure, the sheriff?
No.
Who?
So, in the second season of Stranger Things, I don't know how many seasons there are of Stranger Things. I've seen all of them. I don't know how many there are, though. I just kind of enter a fugue state and, like, watch semi-spooky 80s inspired stuff. Basically, the girl that works with Steve Harrington at the ice cream place in the mall, her real-life dad is Ethan Hawke. That's Maya Hawke.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's been in other movies. I've only seen Gattaca. Gattaca is a great movie. You should definitely watch it if you like sci-fi and you want to see something with, like, higher stakes and more world building.
You know, I'd be down to watch an 80s sci-fi. I think that...
Yeah. Gattaca is great. It's real eugenics-y.
Ooh.
It's like, what if society said, yeah, let's do eugenics forever and on purpose? It's very much like...
Like a Brave New World.
Kinda, yeah. It's very much like people have figured out DNA, we've, like, completely decoded the human genome, and you not only will, like, be artificially inseminated and, like, you know, like, have, like, embryos that are, like, grown in test tubes or whatever, and then they'll, like, select for, like, the least diseases, but you can also select for, like, completely arbitrary physical traits, you know? Like, oh, we want them to be tall. Oh, we are really into music, and so we want our child to be born with extra fingers so they can play more complicated piano solos.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And, like, the main character, Ethan Hawke, was born, quote unquote, the natural way, where his parents just kind of went at it, you know?
They fucked, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, let's keep him. And the doctors were like, you're crazy. In this economy, basically, you know, they're like, he's gonna have an increased risk of, like, you know,
everything.
Heart disease.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have heart disease. He has an increased risk of heart disease, and he just really wants to be an astronaut, and they won't take him because he has an increased risk
because he has
disease.
A belly button.
Or, like, whatever, right? Like, no, they're like, oh, like, you need glasses, you know? Like, it gives you, like, 1940s, no, sorry, like, we're gonna draft you, but you have flat feet, and so you can't actually, you know, or like whatever, you know. Yeah, I don't know, it's wild. He like you know, the surgery that like people are doing nowadays that like make them taller.
Oh my god, that's terrifying. Yes.
Yeah, that's like a thing in the movie. That's like where I first learned about it, and so they were like, these guys are getting their bones broken and then like put back together, so they will go from like 5'6" to 6 foot, and I'm like Gattaca, like
yeah. Oh my god,
it's a good movie. I like it.
I do not get BBLs. But I get BBLs more than knee surgery before you need it, because everybody's knees go out. Yeah. You want to risk it earlier?
Yeah.
You want to mess with them now when you're healthy?
When they're still good? Come
on.
They still got a couple thousand miles left on them. What are you doing?
It messes with me. It's like breaking a finger. Like, it hurts my brain too much.
Yeah. Fun fact, you pegged Izumura as being a Judge Frollo character, and he just straight up admits, he's like, yeah, the main antagonist in Patema was modeled after Judge Frollo.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, that's exactly who we were going for. And so you said vibe check.
Fire. Yeah. I don't know the words to the song.
Me either. I've never actually seen
Top 10.
Notre Dame all the way through.
Oh, really?
I've seen maybe part of it on a VHS tape that they played in gym class when they didn't actually want to do gym or like something. I don't know.
Yeah, like a rain recess or whatever.
Yeah. So, the first interview that I found is the wildest one that I found. It is first published by Little White Lies. It's written and conducted by Anton Bitel. You can find it on rantbit.wordpress.com, and we'll link to it in the description. But the opening paragraph is, interviews don't always go as you hope and expect they will. This conversation with Yoshiura Yasuhiro, conducted awkwardly through an interpreter, just before the theatrical release of his anime Patema Inverted, had so many false starts and misunderstandings that towards the end of our allotted time, I was losing the will to live, and wondering if we were even talking the same cinematic language. He was reluctant to say anything about his film's themes. I kept trying to avoid overly technical questions about the animation process, and so there was no meeting of minds. But then he said something right in the last minute that utterly floored me. And so I'm reading this interview, and he's like trying to be like, so I noticed there were like some themes of like xenophobia. Is that related to like how pre-war Japan was, you know, or like whatever, you know? And the Yasuhiro is like, kinda, yeah. He's like, I don't know, bro. On purpose, but like if that's what you saw, then like sure, or whatever, you know. And so there's just there's a point where he's like, oh my gosh, your movie kind of reminds me of this one part in The Dark Knight. Is that like a thing you were going for? And he's like, oh, it is kind of similar, huh? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I literally never thought about it until you brought it up just now. And so I feel so bad for the interviewer. And so we were talking a little bit before about how there's potentially a trend. We're not very well informed. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah.
But there's potentially a trend of like mangaka, or like the people who write and like draw manga, low-key like messing with interviewers, especially through an interpreter, and just coming up with the weirdest, craziest stuff that they can think of to say, just to like see what they can get away with. And so potentially this is one of those, but I don't know for sure. But basically the person conducting the interview, Anton, is like, your characters are oriented towards one another in a manner that is very reminiscent of a sexual position. The 69. This never becomes, shall we say, explicit in the final product, but it must have been an association that was very difficult to avoid. Was that a real problem for you in making the film? Yasuhiro says, people often say that, actually, and I am aware of it. There's no, as you say, sex in the film. There's nothing explicit in the film. But a lot of people watching it feel something sexual about it. And it is to do with this position, the fact that they have to embrace the whole time. And that is something intentional. And Anton goes, intentional because you wanted to show a sort of interdependence? Or... And Yasuhiro said, I felt that sensuality was necessary to the film, and you actually find that even in famous children's films, like the Disney classics. I see that, and I like that hidden sexuality. And I literally highlighted it and wrote, what? At the bottom of the page.
That's weird.
It's super weird, especially because in a different interview, he's like, I intentionally made them 14 so that we wouldn't, like, have to be concerned about, like, an actual romance and them kissing.
Yeah.
And then he says that, I'm like, what, sir?
Okay, he was definitely, like, I'll be real. If someone asked that about my movie, like, do you know they kind of look like they're 69ing? I would be like, shut up, dude. Like,
yeah. But the fact that he doesn't say shut up, dude, like, I guess he was just like, I want to mess with him. Yeah, totally. That was on purpose.
Oh, yeah. Intentional.
I hope so, because otherwise I'm like, what, sir?
I mean,
in this baby movie for babies, it's not a baby movie.
It
It's
is
not
a
for
baby, kind
but
of.
a little bit it's a baby movie.
Yeah. It's like you go from Pokemon to Patema and Bird.
But yeah, so yeah, I just read that and I said, well, I'm bringing that up in the podcast. Like, that's wild.
Whoa.
After this like terrible interview, you know, that's like going nowhere, and then just to be hit with that, like, yeah, they were almost 69ing on purpose.
That's nasty.
It's a whole
I'm
lot.
really disappointed that I don't. I'm mad at that interviewer. Ew.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Is that all your fun facts?
That's all my fun facts. That's it. That's all I got.
Wow. Those are very, like, you said they were hard to find, but I mean, those were pretty good.
All right, cool. Thank you. So I guess my strategy is working.
Yeah.
I have a sample size of 2, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah. I try not to look at anything too much. I need to start writing the synopsis closer to when, because this time, I literally wrote the synopsis yesterday, and we watched this movie a week ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what happens? I don't. And, like, not, you know, it's anime movies. So there's no like scene by scene description online.
Yeah.
It was rough. Anyway, so on my anime list, this is ranked number 682 anime of all time.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember being shocked it was so low. I think it's because it's a little older and nobody talks about it.
I still don't like 100%. So like, how many movies are there on my anime list?
There's like thousands, like
So
tens of thousands.
So in that case, if it's a rating of less than 1,000, it's probably pretty okay, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
you gotta think about it though. Like, this is an American English speaking site,
Oh, that's true.
and the top 10 anime, I think number 1 is Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah, correct.
And
Good
like,
choice.
can you even name 10 more animes? You know, like,
Yeah.
so 600 is pretty low.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm like, I can name so many enemies. I can name like at least like 11 enemies.
Yeah, and like in that tens of thousands, I imagine they're animes without dubs or translations, or they're porn or something, you know?
Yeah. Fair enough.
So this is rated a 7.95. We said 7 stars earlier, which I
Yeah.
think makes a lot of sense. And it's rated by 100,000 viewers.
That's wild, because wasn't Blue Giant like a 7.5?
Yeah. Well, remember the CGI models were pretty
Yeah, but I feel like the story was better.
the story was definitely better, you're right.
I don't know. To me, I'm like willing to overlook a lot of technical imperfections.
I think I'll be real with you. I think we romanticized it while we're talking about it a little bit.
Blue Giant?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't
But
know.
I remember like coming out of the theater and just being like so like distracted by the CGI models that I was like, I don't know if this was good, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the story really got to me, you know, and like that's what sticks
Oh
with
yeah,
me more.
it was a
than...
great story.
Yeah, so I don't know.
But yeah,
Wild.
this was also rated by a lot more people than Blue Giant, which makes sense because it's been out for 10 years and
Yeah,
Blue Giant
pretty
came
dope.
out this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Wild.
Good job, everybody.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about what media we are into?
Yeah, but first, if you have a suggestion for an anime movie, feel free to leave us a review.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about setting up an email for us. I
think we
haven't
should set up an
decided,
email.
you know, because then we can also share files that way.
That's true.
I'm thinking about doing that so people
Yeah.
can reach out to us without like
Yeah,
having
no,
to.
that would still be
one
useful.
star, but this movie would be cool if you,
Yeah.
you know.
Your podcast is boring, but if you talked about my favorite movie, maybe it would be less boring.
Yeah, maybe it'll be 2 stars. Yeah, so as far as media, I just watched Princess Diaries 2 today.
I want to watch Princess Diaries 2 again. That's a good movie.
It was great. I thought it wouldn't be that good. I thought it would be nostalgia
Yeah.
glasses. And there's a lot wrong with the movie, but I really like it. It has Chris Pine in it.
I know. I always forget he's in it.
I know. Like, I didn't connect the dots earlier because I knew that was Anne Hathaway as the
Yeah.
preteen when it came
and
out.
Julie Andrews, of course.
Yeah, it's Anne Hathaway, right?
Yeah.
But as far as anime, I finished Shinometa, the sex comedy I was telling you about from last time.
Oh, yeah.
Super good. I think you should watch it.
Oh my gosh.
It was really funny.
Stop. My mom is going to listen to this.
If you don't, okay, anime has a long history of sex comedies, and they're like, people kind of like think of that and think it's porn. It's not. It's just a raunchy comedy. Yeah.
That's fair.
And it's definitely more sexual than an American sex comedy. But I'm an adult.
Well, I think there's an overall trend that like American media is a lot more violent than Japanese media, but Japanese media is a lot raunchier.
Yeah,
than American media.
The way I explained it was like, so Japan like is stricter on guns and violence than they are in sexuality. Like they don't really have a religion to hold them back.
Right.
Versus Americans.
Yeah.
So their media is like way more sexual.
Yeah, but it's a lot less like
violent.
Yeah.
In a way.
Give and take. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely less gun violence for sure.
Yeah.
So I watched that. Oh, I also finished kind of in the same kind of naming convention we have for our podcast. Mm-hmm. I finished this anime called I Was Reborn as a Vending Machine, and now I wonder the
oh my god.
the giant dungeon.
I've seen the little Crunchyroll like you should watch.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
It's really cute. I just put it on because they had the dub out, and I put it on in the background, and I liked it. I mean, it wasn't great, you know? Yeah. It's not a classic. But it was way better than I thought.
Yeah, and sometimes things just tend to be like fun and silly.
Yeah, it was great. I really liked it. And then that's pretty much it for... Oh, and then I've also finished in the past couple weeks Toilet Bang Tanaka-kun, I think.
Oh, God.
Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, yeah. So the reason I watched it is because I watched a YouTube video and someone was like, "This is my favorite anime. Don't judge." Everybody thinks it's like weird toilet jokes.
Yeah.
It's not. It's just about a ghost who haunts a bathroom stall.
Oh my gosh.
And that's it. That's the only toilet in it. You know,
yeah.
There's no fart jokes or weird sex things with toilets or something. It's really cute. I don't know. In my brain I want to compare it to Panty and Stocking, the art style. Mm-hmm. But it's just thick lined and they have similar feet shapes. But that's kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I really liked it. Yeah. So that's what I watched anime wise. I was kind of all watching those before. I didn't just finish 3 series in a week. I just kind of was switching between the 3.
Been a little while. Yeah. Since we recorded last.
So, but anyway.
Yeah. I have been watching Archer for like the first time.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't seen Archer before, but it's a good time.
Do you know the main voice actor for Archer?
Yeah,
John whatever. Yeah. I saw him. He came to UTD.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he did a stand-up routine. I'll be so real.
Was it not?
Well, he just gave me an ick. Like his jokes were like, they weren't offensive, but they were very dark.
Yeah. And
like of him like passing out from being drunk a lot type jokes. Yeah. And I was like, after that, I can't really watch Bob's Burgers or Archer.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know why. Anyway.
Archer is like, I don't know, it's bad good, you know? Mm-hmm. Where there'll be a lot of jokes and I'll be like, oh, no, like, don't joke about that, you know?
Yeah.
But also I'm like, he is cartoon, you know? Sometimes it'll really get me, so.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch Bob's Burgers because I've seen a lot of clips. I
have seen, not like a lot of Bob's Burgers, but I've seen a good amount, and I did really enjoy it. I only stopped because I was trying to, like, long distance watch an episode at the same time as someone else, and, like, our internet both kept cutting out at different times.
Oh.
And so we were, like, constantly out of sync, and I was like, this is stupid, and then I just, like, never went back to it.
Yeah. I saw clips from the movie that came out last year. I thought that looked really cute, and it was kind of the thing where I was like, okay, maybe I should.
There was a movie.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, it's the part I saw was like traditionally 2D animated and was super smooth, and I was like, this is nice to look at.
Yeah, heck yeah.
But anyway,
yeah. Other than that, I've been working on my second read through / listen through of the Wheel of Time series, the book series, like the audiobooks, and I had like gone through the series once before, and I read solidly half of it, like carried a book with me and opened it and used my eyeballs to like decipher symbols on a page to form words in my brain, you know? And then like maybe like 3/4 of the way through I stopped doing that, and I was like, I don't have time to sit down and read. I'm gonna listen to audiobooks so that I can like do that while I'm like doing the dishes, you know, or like taking a shower or whatever. And now at my job I'm pretty lucky, and a lot of days I am able to do a task that I can listen to audiobooks during, you know?
Ooh, yeah.
Like, I don't need to like thinking too hard to like have something on to like occupy that part of my brain. So it's great. So I've just been listening through all the audiobooks for Wheel of Time again, and I'm on the last one, and I forgot how easy it is to get me to like feel a lot of feelings, you know, because I'm 14 books into this point, you know, like we're finishing storyline.
You've listened to 14 books twice?
14 and a half. Full disclosure though, I'm listening at double speed because I'm a little
Oh
freak.
my god, don't even give me
Read all of these,
anytime
and, like, I know most of what happens, you know?
Yeah.
So
Anytime you take me anywhere and you forget to turn off your little Spotify app or whatever.
I'm sorry.
I know.
Yes,
like
I
we'll get
know.
in the car and you'll start it and then
like my
immediately
phone,
it's like I can't even understand what
my
they're
phone
saying.
auto connects, I'm so used to it at this point. Like a lot of times I'm listening to stuff at double speed, and then like if I go and show it to somebody else, I have to put it on regular speed, and I was like, oh, this is really funny. I then go and I listen to it at regular speed, and I'm like, this is no longer funny. Like I don't know what it is. Like
No, I totally get
I've
it.
completely like warped my brain.
I try not to, when I'm watching videos or listening to something, I try not to go over 1.25. Sometimes people just talk slow.
Yeah. No, like YouTube gave me the power to double speed all my videos, and then Audible was also like, yeah, you can do that too here, baby. Like, come over here.
Oh.
And I said, okay. And so listen to everything at double speed. So I'm like flying through these, and it's wild. But also like I'm trying not to like be crying in the club, and the club being my workplace.
Dude, they sound like chipmunks. How can you be crying?
I don't know. I'm used to it at this point, and they'll be like, yeah, you know that character that you really like and you've been attached to for like 14 and a half book series and you like just have a lot of thoughts and feelings about? Yeah, like his character arc doing some stuff right now. And I'm like, okay. Like,
oh, speaking of
good.
fantasy books, you remember that Fourth Wing book I was trying to get you to read?
Which one?
It's called Fourth Wing. It's about dragons and it's a little sexy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the second book came out.
Oh.
And a bunch of Barnes and Nobles were having an early release day. And I was like, I never went to a midnight release because when I was like into this kind of stuff, I was a teenager without a car. And even if I had a car, I was in the middle of rural Texas.
Yeah.
I would have to drive to Austin or something for that. And I'm like, this is down the street. I'm not so into this book that I don't want to, like, you bought the book at midnight. You had to,
right.
But I was like, I never did it before. And this is the first book that I've been kind of into for the first time in a while. So I went and I made some friends. I met an MMA fighter who just reads the books. Like, she's a huge fan.
Heck yeah.
I know, she's super cool. I follow her on Instagram now. And yeah, it was cool. I'm really glad I did it. I still haven't read it. I know these two girls that I made friends with definitely stayed up all night and read it.
Oh my gosh.
And then I over here was like, yeet. And it's still on my bedside table. I've read 10 pages in the past 4 days.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
You'll get to it when you get to it.
Yeah, it was still cool. I'm glad I went.
Yeah, that's fun. But yeah, I think that just about wraps it up for this week. This has been Patema Inverted and like our little thoughts and feelings about it. And our opinions.
Good movie, go watch it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. If you like sci-fi but you want to do something a little bit more lighthearted, then this is definitely a good pick, I think.
Yeah. I'm really excited. So he's made a ton of movies.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping another one pops up. I wouldn't mind singing a little melody or whatever his new movie is called again. Because it was really cute. I think you might like it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm down to watch it. We'll have to, I think we know what movie we're watching immediately next. And then after that, I think it's pretty wide open.
Well, we know what movie we're going to do next, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the title?
Yeah.
What is it?
Inu-Oh.
Inu-Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And just so we're clear, that's her pick. And so next week, or the week after that, we're going to do my pick. And I'm really excited.
Ooh.
I know. I'm also excited for your pick because it seems a very stylish movie.
Yeah, I read the synopsis and I said, that sounds pretty neat. So we'll see.
I think I saw a trailer and I was like, all right, this is cool.
Yeah. I just read the little Wikipedia blurb that Google pulls up whenever you Google anything now. It's like, here's a paragraph about it. And I'm like, perfect, thanks. But yeah, so I guess we'll just have to wait until we see y'all next time.
Yeah.
Sayonara. Yep. Sayonara. See you later, weebs.
Weebs.
Bye.